by show of hands, raise your hand if by the end of class you were able to hit one of the side control escapes. Great work. Let's go ahead and circle up right here. We'll take a look at side control. We looked at mounts, we looked at the position itself, and then we looked at a couple escapes for getting out, and then we kind of tested out the techniques that we learned. So we're gonna do the same thing today with side control. Now, the big difference between side control and mount is the angle of my body, right? So mount, I'm directly on top of my partner, I'm past their legs, I can kind of just post my hands out and go along for the ride here, okay? Mount is a little bit more of like an obvious dominant position, like you're directly on top of the person. If strikes are involved, it'd be very easy. Whereas side control, it's a little bit trickier because there's more elements involved that I have to use to actually control the person. Okay, so let's start with our knees. So my right knee is gonna be at his hip. My left knee is gonna be at his head. I'm gonna sit down on my feet and I wanna keep this position, guys. Okay, at no point are we gonna be like sprawling on our partner, or extending our legs out, or turning like this. Okay, we're gonna keep our knees nice and wide and we're gonna sit back on the feet, okay? Now when it comes to the arms, there's two specific terms I want you guys to get really familiar with early on. Okay, one is the cross face. Okay, so the cross face is gonna be this arm. Okay, I'm gonna go underneath of his head like this, like I'm giving him a hug, boom. And then I'm gonna use my left shoulder to apply pressure on the side of his chin, like this, okay? And now the idea of the cross face is it's going to make him turn away from me, which is what I want when I'm in side control. Okay, we did the shrimps going down the mat. You guys might already be able to get a little bit of an idea of how he would want to get out of this position, right? He'd want to turn in, he'd want to shrimp away from me. So if I can make him look this way, using the cross face, it's gonna make it very difficult for him to do that, right? So we go under, shoulder pressure, okay? So if you ever hear me use that term, cross face, this is what I'm referring to. Guys, this is not a cross face. This is me giving Tyler a hug, okay? Good job, right? This is a cross face. Now, you don't have to be really mean to your partner and like drive your shoulder down, but you could, right? If I was maybe in a competition or in an actual fight, I could drive a lot of pressure down with my shoulder, all right? Now with this arm, we're going to get an underhook. Okay, so I'm gonna go underneath of his arm like this. I'm gonna connect my hands, cross face hand on top. You guys remember that gable grip? Boom. And then I go chest to chest. I'm just bringing my head down. Okay, now the underhook is what makes or breaks side control for us. Whoever has the underhook on the far side, okay, in his case it's like the left side, has the advantage. Okay, so if I have the underhook on Tyler, there is no possible way for him to get up. I could even let Tyler up like this, and then I could just drive him right back down very easily, okay? Now if we switch roles, so if he gets the underhook on me, it doesn't matter how much pressure I put. I could have a really strong crossface, but even with a strong crossface, he has this leverage to just come out right to my back. Okay, and this is a principle we'll be using to escape. All right, so the underhook allows us to keep side control. This allows us to turn our partner away from us so it's harder for them to create frames and create a shrimping motion. All right, so for the rest of the warm-up, guys, we're gonna just get in this position. We're gonna hold it really tight. His goal for 1 minute is to try to put me in some form of guard. Okay, so if he's able to trap one of my legs like this, or even better, if he could put me in closed guard like this, that is considered an escape, okay? And the reason it would be considered an escape is being in a guard like this is much more offensive for him. Now he can actually do attacks to me. He can do submissions, he can knock me over. When I'm in side control, there's not really a lot that he can do. Okay, and also too, if on the off chance that the person on top is putting their weight too far one direction, he could also potentially roll me over like this. But let's not rely on that too much, guys. That's kind of like more of a mistake on my part because I'm leaning too far one way. Okay, any questions on what we're doing right now? Yeah.
Is there a difference between doing this cable grip versus this one?
Yeah, oh, that's such a good question. So cross face hand, underhook hand. Cross face hand on top It's very subtle, but here's why. Because when I go cross face hand on top and I drive my shoulder, there's a lot more pressure. When I switch, there's slightly less. So watch. There, and then I'm gonna turn it. Slightly less. So this is just slightly more pressure. I'm sure you could get away with this, but this is preferred. Yeah, great question. Anything else? Yep. So for now, I'm not gonna give you guys anything. Yeah, you guys gotta just figure it out. We'll go over that today. I'll give you a hint though, has to do with shrimping. Okay, so we did part of it today. All right, any other questions? All right, so 1 minute, and then we'll switch top to bottom. Guys, please don't do this, like squeeze super hard and like squeeze their head off. For one, that's actually not very effective. It's very inefficient. I'm using a lot of energy. I can get rolled over, and it's just mean. Remember, they're gonna get to go on me, so if I go super hard on them, they're gonna go super hard on me. Okay, so we'll keep it at like 60, 70% intensity, all right? All right, guys, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. All right, ready? Go. Okay, if you're on bottom, try to put them back in guard. Good, reset, very good. So we're gonna have a better understanding of why the control works and what makes it fall apart, okay? A lot of defense in jiu-jitsu is actually just reverse engineering the offense. You guys will find that as you train longer. The better you get at like holding a position or a certain technique, the better you're gonna be at actually stopping it because you know exactly what they want, okay? So this first technique heavily relies on that idea, and that's because we're gonna be using the underhook, okay? So Tyler is here in side control. He has the underhook, he has the crossface, he's very heavy, he's chest to chest, and he's doing a good job keeping what we call the inside space. Okay, so if you guys look at my arms right now, I'm kind of like hugging onto Tyler. Both of my arms are outside of his body and arms. Okay, so that means he's inside, and whoever's kind of in the inside space is gonna have more leverage. So if I had all the inside space like this, and then he tried to put pressure, I can kind of start putting my legs in front of him and we can create an escape. All right, so that's kind of what we'll be looking at. So first thing I want to look to do is try to get frames in. Okay, so right now I'm at a very awkward angle to try to push him off of me because my hands are not in the equation. Okay, so I'm going to take my right arm and I'm going to bring it inside of his hip and I'm going to frame my right hand on his hip like this. Now this hand here is going to circle underneath of his chin. I'm gonna put it on the near shoulder, like this. And I wanna use my forearm to put pressure into his neck. I'm not like trying to actually push into his neck, I'm just kind of framing it here. But if Tyler were to try to put pressure on me, he's actually disincentivized to do so because there's pressure right there on his neck. It feels like a choke, right? So doing this alone is going to provide you with some relief, right? Because now he can't actually put as much pressure as he would like to. Okay, so that's step one, is just to get my frames in, so I'm in this nice bench press position. Now let's also take a look at what I'm doing with my legs. I'm keeping them bent so I can create off balances. I could actually start bridging into him. If my legs are just lying here like this, for one, there's nothing I can do with my legs here, and it's also very easy for Tyler just to jump right over to mount. Okay, so I'm gonna keep my knees bent, and now I'm gonna bridge into him. Okay, so I'm gonna lift my hips up, I'm going to turn towards him. And now as I drop my hips back down, I use my frames to keep him at bay for a bit. I'm not trying to like bench press him off of me, guys. None of these techniques that we do should require strength. Okay, I don't need to be stronger than my partner. I'm not like forcing him off of me. I'm just lifting my hips up and then just kind of holding him here for a second so I can sneak this arm underneath and I can wrap it around his back. Okay, so this is our underhook. Okay, so we've essentially reversed the position. So now I have the underhook on Tyler as opposed to him having the underhook on me. Okay, now once I have the underhook, I'm gonna scissor my legs like this. Okay, so I thread the needle, and now I'm gonna come up to my knees. And I'm gonna go perpendicular to Tyler, like this. Okay, so we're a T right now. His head is this way, my head is this way. Okay, and now what we've essentially done is we've reversed the position. So now I'm actually in a position where I can get to the top. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this arm here, I'm gonna grab his knee, I'm gonna step up onto my right leg, and then I'm gonna use my head to push as I pull his knee towards me. Just like this. And now look guys, we've ended up on top. Okay, so not only have we escaped, we've actually reversed the position. I went from being on bottom to now being on top, and then we can maybe start to work to get around to side control ourselves, and we can turn around this match. Okay, so again, knees are bent, I get my frames in here, and with this frame, I'm doing this like really weird, like that, like Napoleon Dynamite dance kind of motion, because I want to avoid this. I don't want to go here and then try to go here, because you guys see what he just did with his head? He could block my arm, and now he has arm triangles. There's a lot of really bad stuff he could do to me there. Okay, so I'm gonna go from here to here, or to here, not here. All right, so we get the frames in, we bridge up. I'm gonna shrimp away a little bit, and then I get the underhook. Okay, now I scissor, come up to my knees, I get perpendicular, grab the far knee, step up to my leg, and then we're gonna drive. So we're here. He's got his head down hiding here. Yeah, so this is where this is gonna come into play. And we call this like a arrow fingers, right? Or I don't know, there's all sorts of names, but I'm gonna make these like arrow fingers here. I'm gonna go inside, and I'm just gonna pry my way in, just like this. And guys, keep in mind when it comes to these escapes, we're in a bad position. So sometimes these things will take 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 2 minutes, right? We've already kind of messed up a long time ago if we ended up in this position, right? So if it takes a little bit of time and like patience to get into these positions where we can actually escape, that's totally fine. Yeah, great question. Anything else? All right, let's try it out. 1, 2, 3. Spend a ton of time on that one for 2 reasons. For one, it's pretty simple, the idea behind it. If we can get the underhook, we can get out. That's all I want you guys to remember. Even if you don't get the technique perfect right now, you'll have plenty of time in the future to kind of like iron out the details. But for now, just know, if you're ever in side control, you get your underhook in, just turn to your side and get up, and you can get out. Okay, which I saw some of you guys, even when we were doing it a little bit incorrectly, you still ended up escaping, right? We didn't end up in the ideal situation, but you still got out. And at the end of the day, when it comes to these bad positions, that's our main objective, is to just escape so we can continue moving forward with the match. Okay, so let's look at another escape. This one doesn't rely so much on coming up to my knees or using underhooks. Okay, I'm just gonna use my frames and my shrimp to create enough space to put him back in a guard, okay? So I'm gonna get my frames in like this. And guys, let's not forget to use our elbow a little bit. We don't have to I don't have to do this or anything like that. It's just light, okay? I'm just letting him know, essentially. It's like I'm communicating like, hey, don't put pressure on me. Like, stay away, basically, like stay back. You know, it's like pepper spray or something, right? So we're here, right? So I'm gonna shrimp out. And now I wanna lock out my bottom arm like this. So now I have enough room to bring my right knee across his hip like this. And I'm gonna hook my foot along his near hip. So if he postures up here, we're doing this right here, okay? So what we've done essentially is create a third frame. Okay, now which frame do you think is stronger, my arms or my legs? Definitely my legs. So when I get my leg in front of him, now I have 3 points of contact on his body. Even if he's connecting his hands, it's very easy for me now to kind of like break that connection, and now I can start getting back to whatever guard I want to go to. Okay, so we're going to look at going to the closed guard. So let's turn this way. So once I get my leg across, I'm going to take my left foot, and I'm going to bring it over the top, and I want to try to find the inside of his ankle, like this. Now, we've taught this many different ways. You could bring the leg over the back. You can just kind of place it here. But if you can, try to find the inside of your partner's ankle, because this is going to stop him from jumping back into side control when I try to go to close guard. All right, so pay attention to that step there. So we get this in, and then this leg comes over. Okay, so this is after I get my knee across. All right, so let's look at that again. So my knees are bent. I have my elbows in. And guys, another really sneaky thing we can do, it's kind of like a pro tip. You don't have to do this, but it helps a lot. So I can take my right foot, place it right here on my knee, and I just jam my knee up against this hip. Okay, and what this does is it makes it very hard for him to go to mount. Like, because the moment he goes to mount, go ahead, my knee's already coming in. So he essentially just did most of the technique for me. Right? He allowed that frame to come in. All right, so we're here. I create some space, bring the knee in, trap the ankle, and now I'm gonna hold onto his arm so he can't push my knee right back through and jump back to side control. So I'm just gonna take this arm here that was on his hip, and I'm just gonna hold his shoulder. And now with this foot on the mat, I'm just gonna turn to the other side. And now I take my foot out, and I close my legs. Okay, and now we're back in closed guard. And closed guard is an amazing position. We have a whole class on closed guard and all the cool stuff we can do from here. All right, so let's look at that again. All right, so I get my frames in. I have my knees bent at least, or I could do this here. Okay, I'm gonna shrimp away. And now, if I can, I'll lock out this bottom arm. But even if I can't, that's okay. I just need enough space to get my knee inside. Okay, now this leg is gonna trap his ankle. I'm gonna grab his shoulder. And now I'm gonna use this foot on the mat to turn my hips to the other side. Okay, because my knee is free, but I don't have my foot out yet, and I want my foot out. And I'm not flexible enough to like rip my leg out from this angle. This is gonna be very difficult. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn. Boom. The foot comes out, super easy. We lock the legs. Okay. This one isn't as like gratifying as like getting an underhook and getting on top and taking the person down. But when we get to the live training, you guys will notice this one's actually a lot more doable. Okay, because even if the guy doesn't let us get the underhook, we can still get the legs in front. Right, so the way I would kind of go about this is I would start by trying to get an underhook on him. He's not letting me. Okay, I bring my knee across. Grab the arm, trap the leg, turn, 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 take the foot out, and lock the close guard. Okay? Any questions on this one? Yes, sir? I find in training, I hit this one more. Yeah. Any wrestlers in here? Okay, so for wrestlers, they'd probably like the other one more because you're creating a wrestling scenario. We call this position here the dog fight in wrestling. So if you like to wrestle, you'd probably like the other one more. The one we're about to practice right now is higher percentage. Like you'll see it like from white to black belt at a very high level. So it doesn't matter how good this guy's side control is, this one is very doable. The underhook one can be a little bit difficult because we're relying on one thing, right? We're just trying to get the underhook. There's so many moving parts, it can be difficult for him to stop. Yeah, great question. Anything else? All right, anybody want to see that again? Okay. Knee in, leg over the ankle, grab the shoulder, turn the other way, right back to closed guard. So let's do it. 1, 2, 3. I'm in side control, and he does this technique. I don't want to do this, okay? So go ahead and do the move. And just kind of like fall over, and then he just comes on top. And I'm not being very realistic there, right? So when you're on top, at a minimum, stay on your knees, and then even better would be to try to just keep your hands connected. We don't have to squeeze super hard. In fact, squeezing super hard right now is a little bit counterproductive because it's gonna make it harder for him to practice, right? So we're not squeezing hard, we're just keeping the hands connected. So as the top person, I'm just doing this. You see how I keep a good base the whole time? I'm slowly relieving the grip as he does the technique so he can get further and further into the position. But I'm not compromising position at all. I'm not trying to just hold on and just like fall on him, okay? Make sense? All right, let's go. 2 more minutes on this. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. All right, so by a show of hands, raise your hand if by the end of class you were able to hit one of the side control escapes in the sparring. Okay, nice. That's awesome, most of you. And even if you weren't, that's okay, guys. Jiu-jitsu, as you guys are probably noticing, is a very, very, very complex martial art. There's a lot that goes into each individual technique. There's a lot that goes into like both sides, like the dynamic of the person doing the offense and the person doing the defense. That can make it a little bit confusing. At the end of the day, just keep coming in, stay very consistent, and it'll make more and more sense as you practice more techniques, all right? Guys, when it comes to safety, anytime there's like even a remote injury, we always want to bring it up. Just take care of each other. That's why at the beginning of class today, I said, in the sparring, 70%, 60%. We're not trying to fight our partner. We're not trying to win. It's all about just kind of testing out our moves and seeing if they work. If you really like to like go hard, that's your thing, come to like, there's certain classes that we do have here that are a little bit more focused on that. And there's also competitions that you can do down the line. Okay, so with that said, let's take care of each other. Make it as technical as possible. So always be asking yourself when you're doing sparring, is there a more efficient, less aggressive, less strength-based way to get out of this situation or to attack this person, right? Or what technique could I use that could replace whatever physical attributes I may have? Okay, now with that said, your physical attributes are awesome. You want to use them, but the foundation will always be technique. It'll be technique first, and then you can kind of layer on all the other attributes that you may have. All right, guys? So Thursday, we'll take a look at back control and a couple other things. We'll look into closed guard. We got a lot of cool stuff planned for you guys, so stay consistent. It's really important if you can, try to make it to every class. That way there's nothing that you're missing within the 5 weeks and you can kind of cohesively put this all together, all right? If you guys have questions, we'll be sticking around after. If you have questions about training, one of the techniques, you're interested in one-on-one privates, whatever it is, all right, you can talk to us after. Great work. All right, let's go down and give everyone a high five. Great job, great job, great job, great job, great job, great job, great job.